Welcome back to Spartans in the Motor City. My name is John Gustin, and we are here after a really, really big win for the Michigan State Spartans. Of course, we're going to talk basketball, football, and it's spring, or about to be. Some days it's a little bit warmer than others. And joining us here, coming out of his winter hibernation for the schedule, but he has been anything but napping the last few weeks, is our sports director, Ian. Ian, welcome back to the very warm, right next to the boiler, CTV room.
Thanks for having me back. But yes, certainly very busy, and it's about to get even crazier with March Madness coming up for Michigan State men's basketball, women's basketball, NCAA hockey tournaments coming up. Michigan State is the number one hockey team in the country. We got that going on. And then we also do a lot of high school basketball, too, and that postseason's going on. So, going to be a lot of working going on the next month.
Definitely going to be turning up the heat, as it were. We're kicking into high gear. I'm going to not go into any more automotive puns. I mean, we are here in the state that drives the country, and everyone is shifting into really high gear, and it's a really, really fun time of year for the indoor sports teams, as it were. Basketball right now, like you're talking about, Michigan State. We're just going to dive right into it. They're coming off this right now. We are recording on Friday, the 27th of February in the afternoon, and we're coming off of Michigan State just beating Purdue in Purdue. Purdue in the top 25. Number 8, Michigan State was number 13. This was a big kind of must-have win. The Big Ten standings are kind of locked in where they are, but in terms of the top 4 seed that Michigan State's aiming for to get the triple bye in the Big Ten tournament, the framing of the tournament now and the size of it is still, my mind's trying to wrap around to, but the top 4 to get the rest, to get the recovery, to get the matchup, I think is vital and important for this team to put them in an advantageous situation. And they did not start off last night necessarily in a advantageous situation. Another slow start.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think they gave up a 9-0 run to Purdue right out of the gate. Michigan State scored first, then Purdue went on a 9-0 run. But after that, Michigan State was sort of able to kind of balance the waters a little bit and was kind of able to go back and forth with Purdue, which has really been like a house of horrors, I feel like, for them the last decade. I think, Thursday night was their first win at Mackey since February of 2014. So it's kind of crazy to think, as great as a coach Tom Izzo is, he has not won there, had not won there in 12 years. So it's impressive what they were able to do, go on the road in that hostile environment and weather that early run Purdue went on, because that has been an issue for Michigan State. They were down 3 at halftime, so I believe that is the 6th time in the last 7 games that they have been trailing at halftime, and they've been able to now come back and win. Last night was just as impressive, probably the most impressive win they've had all season, and Tom Izzo even said that was probably one of the best true road wins they've had in quite some time. So to go to Mackey, pull out a victory, and to really work towards getting that, like you mentioned, triple bye at the Big Ten tournament is huge, because whether or not they try to go win it, not having to play potentially 4 games in 4 days at the Big Ten tournament before the NCAA tournament is ideal to keep the legs fresh.
And I think that it's helpful when you don't have to play against Zach Edey. I mean, that's the one thing, too, is Michigan State. I mean, Zapala last year was kind of their uber big man in terms of someone with true size. But I mean, Michigan State has depth, and they've got players who are athletic, and the big man showed out last night for Michigan State. They didn't look out of place. You could say a little bit against the Michigan game, the team was kind of blitzed and maybe a little shell shock. Michigan's got some very unique size and athleticism, but Michigan State was right there with them the whole way. They even pulled ahead for a decent bit in the second half. And the play out of Carson Cooper, I think he really deserves his flowers. The last few weeks, he has been a steady presence, and the offensive ability, his defense has always been there, his hustle, at least rim running, but to have him be kind of almost a go-to scorer has been incredibly valuable for this team.
Yeah, he's led them in scoring the last 2 games against Purdue, and then at Ohio State this past Sunday, he was their leading scorer. And yeah, his development from really last year to this year, but also really his freshman year to now is just incredible. He was not the highest recruit that Tom Izzo got, was a late signee to that class, and not many people knew what to expect out of him. And you brought up Zach Edey. I remember Cooper's freshman year when Purdue came to the Breslin Center. They had to put Carson Cooper in the game as a freshman to try to guard Zach Edey. You can imagine that did not go very well, but his development over the last 4 years has really been incredible. I think it speaks a lot of volumes to the Michigan State program and what they're able to do with the guys that stick around. The same thing can be said for Jackson Kohler, who didn't score as many points as he would have liked and isn't scoring right now like he would like. But for those two guys, what they've been able to do and what they've been able to grow into over the last 4 years is just the Michigan State basketball program as a whole under Tom Izzo. It's development, and you've seen that with Jeremy Fears now in his third year with the program. He just continues to get better, but really Carson Cooper's play has been as impressive as any in the country considering where he came from.
And to do so too, I would say this isn't necessarily the most advantageous of a lineup. It's not like he's playing a 4-out, 1-in where there is Coen Carr, there is Cam Ward, Kohler. His shooting's maybe cooled a little bit. Defenses, Michigan State's dealt with multiple teams where they double the bigs and they trap, and they're really aggressive they know Michigan State wants to attack the interior. And Carson Cooper had, was it like a spin move under the basket too? Like there's things there where I am at home going, oh wow, watching the feed where I'm seeing things out of him I never would have thought before. I mean, even his mid-range jumper he's been showing off a little bit more of. He's had a hook shot, the touch there, and he's talked about too. I mean, a couple of years ago, it felt like his hands were very hard. The ball would get him and bounce off. The rebounds and otherwise finishing around the basket, outside of dunks or layups, maybe not quite there. And this year, it's been progressive steps forward, but this year you see the culmination of everything coming together. And he's talked about, too, how he's worked really hard with the coaching staff and getting drills on it. But the level of play that he is at, I think, is truly a wild card. But I'd also say, too, Coen Carr, what he brings to the team with his energy. And he's definitely good days or bad days, the last couple of weeks too, he's really been attacking, and it's something that's been needed. Sometimes the team's maybe been pressing a little for offense or where to go, and it feels like he steps up and says, I'm going to bring this team with me, whether it's attacking the basket, whether it's alley-oops. The energy he plays with helps, I think, bring the team, if there's a lull, get them back into it and bring them to the next level that they need to be at.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the dunks bring a lot of energy to the team, and especially when they're at home, to the crowd, and that always helps Michigan State get momentum. But yeah, he does so much more than just those dunks. I mean, he's able to grab clutch rebounds when needed, and he knows when to make a lot of the right plays. Maybe his shooting still isn't where he would like it, the coaching staff would like it, but he's really been a spark plug, and when he's on in games, Michigan State is a very tough defeat. Like, there's not a lot of teams that can try to hang with them when they have that type of athleticism on top of a point guard in Jeremy Fears Jr. who's feeling it and distributing, and then you have the two bigs who, you know, maybe one is off a certain game like Kohler, but they still have that knowledge, and they still know the certain plays that they need to make in order to allow a player like Coen Carr to have success. And when Cohen's going, it just creates a lot of space on the floor, I feel like, because teams have to they get, where's Coen? Where's Coen? And all this stuff, and it allows other players to benefit off of that, especially like a Jordan Scott too.
And there's ways to have gravity without being just a bomber like Jace Richardson. The gravity that Carr plays with is you give him space and he can use that as a runway to build up steam and attack the basket. So if you play off of him, he can cut. I mean, you can be a smart player, and when he plays with confidence, it helps elevate everything there. Someone who also doesn't really lack for confidence, Jeremy Fears. You're looking at the guard duel last night. I mean, I lost track of how many times I kept hearing about Purdue record for 1,000 assists and everything. The Robbie Hummel too on color commentary. Maybe a little bit biased, but I think, was it Dan Dockich, whose son was at Michigan for a moment there a couple years ago? His color commentary was very interesting when he was on Michigan games. I think Hummel, at least it feels like he tries to be a little bit more neutral.
Hummel's pretty good. I mean, he's a Purdue guy, but he's pretty good.
Yeah, I have enjoyed him, and it's odd too, because I'm like, wait a minute, I remember you as a player. Oh no, I mean, at least he doesn't have a kid playing in college basketball yet.
Dan Dockich didn't hide it, that's for sure. He was always against Michigan State. I remember the Izzo booing him.
Fears with that confidence of going into a very hostile crowd. The energy in basketball that Purdue fan base. I mean, there's few places like it. I mean, I think that's what's unique about Matt Painter's program, Tom Izzo's program, the respect that they have for each other, the mutual admiration, The fan bases understand each other. I mean, this is two basketball teams that are really, truly living it. And Fears, not the greatest night in the world, but a very solid. I mean, it was a even kind of between scoring wise. Fears had 12 points, 6 assists, 1 turnover. 6 assists to 1 turnover, I think, is huge, especially when nothing else is really going on the high level of usage to be the general on the floor to take care of it. And the defense out there for the whole team, too. It's not like Michigan State was really the other guards, too, for Purdue didn't take advantage. There wasn't any weaknesses in Michigan State outside of the slow start where there was the big run initially. Everything felt very even. And then Cam Ward off the bench. I thought his energy and what he was able to bring. Ward is interesting too because when you hear his size and where he plays with, he's playing power forward kind of at 6'8", and the Big Ten. In college basketball, you think that's a pretty good size, but the Big Ten's big. It's really big and athletic. And for someone to come in as maybe just a slightly smaller power forward, but to play with his strength and energy and attacking, especially coming back from the wrist injury, I think Cam Ward as a freshman, I have been really impressed what he can do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you saw at the beginning of the year against Arkansas, he had this breakout game, second game of the season. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, we have the freshman of the year right here in East Lansing. And then, he goes through that injury with his wrist, and it sort of really hurt how he had his touch with the ball down low, especially, and you saw him struggle with a little bit of confidence and not feel like he had that shot right. But it's coming along. Izzo has definitely said that it's gotten a lot better, and it's almost not a factor anymore, that injury. So when he has confidence, he's just like Jeremy Fears Jr. in a way. If he has that Spartan dog mentality. Our Desharian McBroom was at the game yesterday, and he mentioned how Fears and Cam Ward were going at it a little bit. And, those are two guys that, they're butting heads. That's going to be an intense conversation. I think Fears, Desharian said, was grabbing Ward's jersey. I don't know what started it, what was the play that led to that, but they're guys that want to win and they want to just beat whoever's in their way. That's just the mentality that those two guys have. And I think that helps Michigan State when those guys have a lot of confidence and they're playing well. Izzo talked about Cam Ward and how, he played excellent for them, brought the energy that they needed off the bench. And that's sometimes all you need on the road is some of those bench guys to come in and make a big shot or a big play to get the rest of the guys going. And that's what you had yesterday.
And just box score wise, perfect 4-4 and 4 rebounds, 3 fouls in 20 minutes of play. I would say part of it too is fouls. There's something to be said of a bench player coming off and the defense you play with. I'm going to make a slight comparison here to the NBA. The Pistons are one of the highest fouling teams, and they're known for their defense right now, which is really fun to say that the Detroit team is playing with hardcore defense. And Izzo is known for hardcore defense. And you want to make the other team respect you. You're not giving up easy touches around the basket. You are going to play hard and physical. And anytime Purdue and Michigan State play each other, it is a hard physical matchup. Both teams have similar philosophies and that they understand what traditional Big Ten basketball is. And when you have players, too, that have that energy, Izzo seems to respect players who challenge him. That's what he wants. He wants that fight because it means you care. And you're not passive. You're not just out there. And to have leaders like that, especially so young, relatively speaking, across the board, I think is encouraging because then Izzo's energy and presence continues onto the floor. He's not the only one providing that.
Yeah, and that's why he loves Jeremy Fears Jr. He views the point guard always as sort of like the person that is going to lead the team. And when you have someone like Jeremy Fears Jr. who is not afraid to say what's on his mind, be vocal, call guys out, that is exactly what Tom Izzo is looking for. Someone who can really be the coach of the team, but it's not a coach. It's a player. And he's always viewed Jeremy highly. He's always, in a way, compared him to a Mateen Cleaves type of player with that dog mentality that Tom Izzo looks for. And obviously, Jeremy Fears went through a little bit of some controversy throughout the season with some people calling out some, quote, dirty plays.
Hey, I didn't see any last night. That was really bad.
Yeah.
It was nice. It was nice. First time in a while we haven't had to look, okay, was that an accidental kick to below the belt? Was there some flopping there? It felt like a clean game, which was nice. And it was also nice, too, not to have a game that comes down to a bunch of fouls where players are, free throws are there. It's part of the game, but it's not the controlling factor, and you're not saying that the discrepancy, and it's not killing the pace of the play. Both teams were allowed to play.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, there was nothing from Fears last night that I think, or Thursday, I should say, that I think stood out. It was just a good, clean game. I mean, that was a great college basketball game, Michigan State at Purdue. And that's what you want as a fan, and that's what most people are hoping to see in the Big Ten, and that's what we were able to get. I'm sure when Jeremy goes to Michigan next Sunday, he's going to get a whole lot of boos from those fans in Ann Arbor, but I think he's going to embrace that. He's going to love that. You saw him loving it last night. He was hyping up the crowd after a Coen Carr windmill dunk. Like, he loves that type of energy on the road when fans are booing him, and sometimes it brings the best out of him.
Well, we're going to take a quick break right now where we just talked about the win. We're going to now look at what's going to come ahead from here. We just talked about Michigan in terms of the schedule and the remaining Big Ten play. We'll be right back here on Spartans and the Motor City. Welcome back to Spartans and the Motor City, and I am joined here with Ian on today's episode. We just talked about Michigan State, their big win last night for as of recording. This is Friday at the end of March. Michigan State just beat Purdue in West Lafayette, Indiana. And now in the Big Ten, the latest standings that I have here. Right now, no surprise to anyone, Michigan's 16-1 in the Big Ten. And then after that, we've got Illinois, Michigan State, and Nebraska. I think this is just printed off, but I think this is what the standings looked like last night before the win too. So that would mean a half game back. But Michigan State, what we're looking at right now is it would be very hard for Michigan State to make up the 3 games on Michigan because of just how strong that team's been. We're coming down to the very last handful of games. But in terms of the Big Ten standings and what it means for the Big Ten tournament, Michigan State's kind of right where they want to be, neck and neck with Illinois. And beating Purdue, too, I think is also a good statement of where the team is at in terms of there's been some rough losses this year. And there's been some defeats against teams you wouldn't have hoped that would happen to, but Michigan State's also showed up, and their non-conference schedule's been really hard. They had a moment where they came right back against Michigan. The whole Big Ten as a whole is a very, very strong conference. I mean, we're looking right now at the top 25. Michigan's number 3 in the country right now. Purdue was number 8. This is from earlier in the week, so this will change probably in just a few days, and Michigan State will likely move up a few spots. Nebraska, that's right, number 12 in the country. They're having a kind of coming out of nowhere. I mean, at 23-4, at least as of the AP poll from earlier in the week. Michigan State right there at 13, and then others receiving votes. Wisconsin on the outside looking in. You got Iowa as well. So the teams in the Big Ten are dispersed throughout the top 25, but I'm sure they're all solid there with just. We're going to look at losses, 4 or 5 losses nationally, considering the schedule these teams play. It's a little bit of everyone's beating each other up outside of Michigan.
Yeah, and that's typically how you see it in the Big Ten. I just feel like it's such a competitive league that, what Michigan's been able to do, currently be 16-1. They play at Illinois as of now tonight. So when we're recording this, Michigan is not played at Illinois. And so there is a chance, for Illinois, Michigan State, or Nebraska to creep back in and try to get a share of that Big Ten title with the Wolverines. But yeah, with the way they're playing right now, with how dominant they have been, I mean, they went up 20 points at Purdue not that long ago. Like, they are just playing at another level to get a win at Michigan State. And I just think they're a team right now that seems destined to make the Final Four. Obviously, it's called March Madness for a reason. You don't know how that's going to play out. But it should make for an interesting Big Ten tournament. I think, last year Michigan State won the Big Ten by 3 games. This year, I don't know if that would have been the case because it seems like there's much more competition at the top. There wasn't as good of teams at the top of the Big Ten last year, I feel like, compared to this year. Like Purdue, they're 12-5 after the loss to Michigan State in the Big Ten. But they're still a solid team. They're a team that's up there as well with a chance to. They're not going to win the Big Ten, but they can win the Big Ten tournament if they go on the run and the right guys get going. But you look at Illinois, Michigan State, Nebraska, the teams right at the top there. They've had solid years, great wins, especially in the non-conference you talked about. But for Michigan State, it seems like this is sort of how it's always been under Tom Izzo. They have some great wins early, and then late January, early March, or early February comes around, they start to struggle. Everyone freaks out, panics, like, oh my gosh, they're not going to do anything in the tournament. and then they sort of get the train back on the tracks. And it almost seems like that's what that Purdue win was, because Tom Izzo was not happy after the win over Ohio State. He was certainly happy after the win over Purdue, just given what that win means to the program, for him, and to really start building momentum with March coming up.
Yeah, I remember watching like the Kalen Lucas teams and Corey Lucius, and if you want to go down that whole line where it would feel like Michigan State would blow a team out, and then each win would get a little progressively worse, and then it'd get sloppy, they'd lose a game, and then they'd rattle off 5 straight. This year was a little bit against that grain because of some of the back-to-back losses and who they lost to. But I think, too, like you're talking about the strength of the Big Ten. Like Michigan's been a strong team for a while. I mean, there's been some ups and downs, but like the top tier of the Big Ten, Michigan, Illinois, Purdue, that makes sense. Nebraska being that extra team in there, I think it's someone else who's going to take a chunk out of the pie. And then Wisconsin, I think, is also a dangerous team on any given night. And then you add in the whole West Coast travel. That is an additional factor for everybody. Those teams coming both in and the Big Ten Midwest teams going out to the West Coast. It's a whole other variable on top of that. For the remaining schedule right now for Michigan State, they've got Indiana on Sunday, followed by Rutgers Senior Day at home on Thursday, March 5th, and then at Michigan. So 3 games left of the regular season. It is kind of crazy to think about that. I think if you're looking at this, if you're Michigan State, you're probably thinking you're going to pick up maybe 2 more wins. 25 wins is a pretty healthy place to be. And then a win at Michigan on the road would be a great resume piece for the committee.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the win at Purdue basically, I don't want to say locked in, but it really helped Michigan State's case to get a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament, which is ultimately what you want, because then you avoid a potential 1 seed in the Sweet 16. So getting a win at Purdue bumps up Michigan State's resume a bunch. If they were to beat Michigan and win 2 games maybe in the Big Ten tournament, then there's a chance Michigan State's a 2 seed. But obviously, going to Chrysler Center in Ann Arbor is going to be pretty challenging. Michigan's been pretty good there. As we saw, you mentioned Wisconsin. They're a sneaky good team. They've beaten Michigan and Michigan State this year. If they are feeling it from deep, they can beat anyone in the country. So, yeah, that just speaks to the Big Ten as a whole. But, yeah, it seems like Michigan State's playing well at the right time.
And funny thing, I guess, perfect segue, I guess, I bumped into just on the concourse the other night, Pat Fitzgerald was just on his way to the bathroom. And initially, I did a double take because I'm like, he's just he's not wearing like aggressive 3/4 zip or anything like that. He was just there walking, heading towards the bathroom, and I'm like, that's not Pat Fitzgerald. And then I'm like, no, he's built like a linebacker. He's head and shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
Someone stopped him for a selfie, but he has been. We talked about energy and leadership, and with the football team too. I think we're already seeing that, and the difference you're seeing with the reaction from the fan base, former players, the current players right now. And you just recently had a chance to sit down and talk with him, and this was the first time you've had a chance to get an extended one-on-one with him, correct?
Yes, it was. Last week we talked with him, and it was good to get to know him a little more. He's very personable, and yeah, he does bring that energy. I think this fan base has really been wanting since the peak of the Mark Dantonio days, especially coming off of Jonathan Smith's, the way he was, Jonathan Smith, I should say, the way he was. It wasn't exactly this rah-rah personality, which is fine, but it's only fine if you're winning. And they weren't winning, and so fans obviously did not like that laid-back personality. But with Fitzgerald, he's very much this in-your-face guy, and he's shown a passion already for Michigan State. I think the fan base loves. They've been craving, and they're excited to see him sort of bring more out of this program, and his staff too. The guys he's been bringing in also have a lot of energy. Joe Rossi's a very intense guy. Max Bulla is a very intense guy. A lot of Michigan State fans saw that when he was a player, and so people are excited to see, I think, this new energy around the program that's going to be what Michigan State football was under Mark Dantonio, just very intense and a tough, gritty team.
And we got a clip here we're going to play. You might feel some of the energy coming through. This, I believe, is him talking about kind of coming to Michigan State and the adjustments of where the program's kind of doing right now. This is definitely the off season, so it's the transition. It's your weight and conditioning. You're getting everything set ready for spring.
Yeah, not my first year as a head coach, right? So you got to lean on your staff. We have a great personnel staff. Brian Gasser's now running that as our general manager, and just really trying to be highly organized, really have a plan, and then just attack each day. We'd meet as a staff at 6:30 in the morning. We'd go over the young men that were in the building, and then the guys that were coming in later, and we were just really trying to finalize one piece of the puzzle at a time. Ended up signing 30, brought in a class of 15 early enrollees, so 45 new, student athletes that joined the 54 that were here. So we're at 99 on the spring roster. So that gives us, quite a few guys to be able to go out and compete and improve here over the next phase once we get done with winter workouts.
Get here at 6:30 in the morning. I'm assuming, are you a morning person?
Yeah. No, we're a morning group. We'll be a morning practice routine. We're morning right now. It'll be a little extreme this spring. We've got some class conflicts, so we're going to move it up a little earlier than maybe we'd like to in the future, but that's what the guys are here for. They're here to get their degree, and we want to make sure we facilitate an environment where they can be successful academically first, and then we'll get to football after that.
Early mornings. That is, as someone who used to work nights, that was to get up and do that and have that energy. It's a special kind of person, and to do that with that, you saw just in the clip too, just now. I mean, him at the game and bringing that energy. One thing that's not happening this spring, a question I always floated out there was, would MSU do another spring game? They're not doing that, but they are doing a level of fan engagement.
Yeah, they're doing a spring showcase, which is something we've seen previously with either Mel Tucker or Johnathon Smith. They're still going to practice at Spartan Stadium, so fans will get a chance to see the team, their first look at the Pat Fitzgerald era, but they're not going to play really a game. They may do a scrimmage where guys are running plays, but there really won't be defense played, and it'll be a chance to really get to know and meet some of the players and the coach, Pat Fitzgerald. So that'll be something that I think fans will be looking forward to. The key, though, is the weather going to be good. It's April 18th, I believe, is the day at Spartan Stadium. So if the weather's great, a lot of people could come out, but if it's not great weather, then that might change some things.
And you heard him there too talk about signing 30-some guys. It's a lot of new faces, a lot of change coming there too. But also, you talked to him too. I thought it was interesting talking about like what to carry over from the Mark Dantonio era, and that I think is such an interesting connection because he's someone who coached against Mark Dantonio, and Mark Dantonio's legacy still looms large over this program. As I believe he had the most number of wins,
and all-time leading wins, at Michigan State.
The Rose Bowl for the first time in decades, and the BCS bowls and the college football playoffs. It's still a unique part of this program's history, and to have a contemporary come there that knows what that is and what that meant to the fan base, and it can give voice to that, is, I think, exciting. One last quick question. We're counting down the seconds before we got to go. Of course, it's always so much Michigan State basketball to talk about. That's always fun. But the Pistons, they are continuing to rock the Eastern Conference, and Cade Cunningham's name has been floated for an MVP. I think he's probably, I would put him number 3 personally, after Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic. Do you agree?
For sake of time, I would say he could be number 1. I think the Pistons are the top team in the East. There's no reason Cade Cunningham should not be the top MVP candidate right now in the NBA. Shai has been hurt a little bit. I'm going to say Cade, but call me a little biased, but Cade for MVP. You heard it here first.
Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys next time.